Good morning, Ratman. I'm your host, Jay, and the DM for my game of Traveler uses Tyranid pictures to represent the aliens we are fighting, and he didn't think I'd notice. And joining me is my co-host Corgi, who will be really looking forward to the cult stuff that won't be in this episode.
Aww. Dashing my hopes like that, man, that's cold-blooded even for you.
Now, I forgot to say our sponsor last week, and that sponsor is rats! Pat them! I got a very angry message from the rats in my walls.
Well, that's just normal for you. You're always forgetting to give them proper cheese instead of that vegan nonsense.
Yeah, well, if regular cheese didn't poison me, I would eat it. I used to love cheese before I developed my allergy. I would just eat half a block of cheese in one sitting, and now if I do that, I would vomit violently for hours.
Sounds like an excuse, man.
Also, so in the last episode, we said we would be recording in about 5 minutes, but it was in fact not 5 minutes. It was about 5 days.
Minutes, days. Time doesn't matter when you're a rat, man.
Yeah, there's no time in the void. I realized the other day that I was born in the year of the rat, and I have complained about that my whole life, because who the fuck wants to be born in the year of the rat when you got shit like Year of the Dragon, and even Year of the Ox is kind of cool. Oxes are kind of cool, but it's like I was destined to do this show. Born in the year of the rat.
You're the snake, baby.
I always called this show the Administratum podcast. Ratman is so much better.
Yeah, Administratum just confuses me even off the bat.
This is sort of on topic, but I was talking to my wife the other day, and I remember this story, but it unlocked a part of the memory that I hadn't quite realized yet, which was when I was about 6 or 7 years old. I borrowed from the library a Superman comic book that was
Oh my god.
Superman versus the Xenomorphs, and
Oh god, not this story.
and I was too young to understand. I just like looking at the pictures. I couldn't really read good. And like we took it home and my dad saw it and he was like, "What the fuck is this book? Wait, why the like?" And to my mom, like, "Why the fuck did you let him borrow this book?" And she was like, "It's in the kids section." And he's like, "It's fucking Alien, from the horror movie Alien." And she was like, "Oh, he shouldn't be reading this book." And at this point, I'd already read it without I just looked at all the pictures. I and ended up getting taken back. But I realized in telling that story to my wife, that is the first time of my experience with the Xenomorphs from the Alien franchise. My introduction was 6 years old, renting a Superman comic book from the library.
Well, it could have been worse.
Yeah, could it be worse? I remember listening to a podcast and a guy's introduction to Aliens was he turned on the TV, seeing that Aliens was on the TV, and his parents had told him that he wasn't mature enough to it, and he turned it on, and it was when Bishop was getting ripped in half by the Queen, and all the milk blood was going everywhere, and he was just like, "Oh my god, my parents were right." Traumatized him for years. I've also heard several people's stories of being children when Star Wars came out, and then their parents being like, "Oh, you love Star Wars, let's go take him to another Alien movie, this brand new movie called Alien."
Oh, come on. No.
8-year-old thinking they're gonna go watch the new Star Wars, watching fucking what's the guy's name? Head just being knocked off, all the beads and tubes and milk coming out everywhere.
Ash.
Yeah, Ash, that's it. John Hurt's chest exploding.
I still love how that scene, they didn't tell them something was going to pop out of his chest, so they were genuinely fucking freaking out.
I think that's one of those stories that is told to a
Fake.
degree that's not true. They knew what was going to happen. They just didn't realize how violent it was going to be. They knew something was going to come out of his chest. They just didn't realize blood and gore would spurt everywhere. Because he lays down on the table and then a thing comes out of your chest. You can't do that without having the cast know that, because obviously his head's been stuck through the table and his fake body's been put there. It's not one continuous shot. But all of that aside, today's episode is potentially the biggest threat to the galaxy, the Tyranids, which is also
Oh.
the first faction I ever played in 40k. When I was getting into it was 4th edition, just the Battle of Macragge had just happened, and it was either these dudes or this coolest shit looking alien motherfuckers. And I went with the coolest shit looking alien motherfuckers, because I think at this point I'd seen Alien when I was like 10 years old. Well, Aliens. My dad didn't let me watch Alien until I was like 14, but I was allowed to watch Aliens and Alien Resurrection.
You were already traumatized from the comic book, and yet that's what he fucking draws the line
Well,
on?
it was because Aliens and Alien Resurrection are action films with aliens in them, whereas Alien is just a hardcore horror film.
Yeah.
I understood the reasoning at the time because I didn't like horror, and to this day I still don't like horror film, despite the fact I love the Alien franchise. But
Just
I picked Necrons because they not Necrons, sorry. I picked Tyranids because they seemed really cool, and then I played a little bit of Necrons, and then I eventually settled on Guard because I'm just one of those motherfuckers that just really likes the idea of what if regular dudes were just having the worst time of their lives, and that's their position in this universe is, oh, we exist to die, huh? We're just the cannon fodder. And that's great. I love them. And then I retired from playing and just started buying whatever models I think looked the best, which I think in the long run is much more expensive and definitely requires a lot more paint.
just fucking dip that shit, man.
Dip that shit?
Yeah, all you have to do is just put it in the one color, and then you can just say, "Oh, it's a disappointment."
Yeah, I just base coat all of my guard with
Yes.
black spray paint and then never paint them.
Yeah, pretty much.
So, some competitions have like a 2 paint rule, so they need to have at least 2 colors on your models.
Why? Why is it a two-paint rule?
It's so you can't go in with unpainted models or models that are just base coated, I think, is the idea behind it. But there are also like models like the white scars, and it's like, oh, what's that color scheme? Yeah, it's all white, which is apparently an absolute fucking cunt to paint. Apparently, you would think all white is the easiest paint to make, but apparently the white paint is an absolute fucking cunt.
Oh yeah, I'm pretty sure it's one of the most expensive paints out there.
Well, it's not that it's expensive. It's, well, maybe it is that it is expensive, but like it's a lot more chunky and flaky and harder to water down than all of the other paints. I have some white paint, and its consistency is weird. Back on topic, Tyranids. How much?
Yes.
You looked at the pictures. How much on the Tyranid? Like, what's your guess? Looking at what they look like, what's your guess that their deal is?
Honestly, I just imagine them as the fucking Zerg.
Well, that's because the Zerg are the Tyranids.
Oh, shut up! You get what I mean. Where it's just full on, hive mind sort of bugs, just alien bugs.
Yeah, well, that's correct, but also that's because the Zerg are the Tyranids. They're the same fucking thing.
Again, shut the fuck up.
But so, the Tyranids are a hive mind species, as you guessed. But what's interesting about the Tyranids is they come from outside of the galaxy. They're not native to the Milky Way. So all of Warhammer 40k is set within the Milky Way, right? 40,000 years into the future, hence the name. Technically 39,000 years into the future, because it's...
I can't even be sassy. I thought this whole time it was 40k as in, that's how much is in a legion or whatever.
No, it's 40,000, as in the year 40,000. You never put this together, huh?
Do I look like smart?
What do you think Warhammer 30k is?
30,000 in a legion.
Hey, figured it out. 30,000 legions. All fighting for Horus Heresy himself. So, the Tyranids come from outside of the galaxy.
Where?
Just outside of the galaxy. No one knows which galaxy they come from. They just come from outside of the galaxy. Because the thing that's interesting about the Tyranids, and we'll get a little bit more into it when I get later, is the Tyranids have invaded, right? And logically, Galactic North, if they come in through Galactic North, you just go, okay, they're from a galaxy in the Galactic North. That makes sense. But then they'll also invade Galactic East, and then they'll invade from underneath. The entire galaxy is surrounded by Tyranids, and they are invading from every possible direction.
As you do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're very... like, this is what I mean by they are possibly the biggest threat to the galaxy. Is they are insanely numbered. No one knows how much of them there are. And the Hive fleets that are attacking, and like the Imperium and other factions, are struggling to fight them off. Those are the tip of the spear. There's still a whole fucking spear that is entering the galaxy. There is like 20 spears that are entering the galaxy, and they're struggling with the tip.
Just the tip, huh?
Just the tip.
Well, it's probably even worse considering you don't send in, your top military, like, you don't send in the fucking nuke. No, you start off with the tanks, and then you upgrade to fucking warships or whatever, and then you throw in the nukes. So that means there's something much fucking worse out there that's just waiting on the edge, like...
that do slowly show up more. They've introduced some new units that we'll get into a bit later that they're interesting, and they haven't been around in the lore at all until 2 years ago, I think. No, last year. Last year was when Leviathan came out. But
oh, great. Leviathan. Just what you want to hear.
Leviathan is one of the names of the Hive Fleet. They all have very
well, obviously,
aquatic sort of names, but they're technically, because they don't have any form of communication, and they're not actually named, they don't name themselves. They are named after planets and locations that they're found in. So Hive Fleet Leviathan was found in the Leviathan sector, and the Tyranids themselves were first encountered on Tyran. That's where they get the name from. They are Tyranids because they were discovered on Tyran.
Ah, yes, makes sense.
Tyran itself was a whole thing because they just showed up, and it was a heavily defended planet that had fought back invasion after invasion after invasion of aliens, chaos, whatever.
Starship Troopers.
Yeah, they'd invaded everything easily. And then the Tyranids showed up, and they were struggling, but they eventually beat the Tyranids, and they're like, oh shit, yep, we got them, we destroyed all of their ships, and then realized that they hadn't destroyed any of their ships, they had destroyed the tiny little bits of them, and there was more coming. And they just slaughtered the entire planet, and it got to the point where even like Catachan special forces who were stationed on the planet just gave up and fled from the battle. Which, you don't know what the Catachans are, but imagine Arnold Schwarzenegger from Predator mixed with Rambo, and those are the Catachans, like quite literally. That is what the Catachans are based on. One of their guys is called Sly Marbo, which Sly, Sylvester Stallone, Sly. Marbo
nice.
is just Rambo spelt differently.
Gotta love the anagrams.
Yeah. So for Catachans who live on death worlds, where everything wants to kill them, for them to just up and flee from battle is fucked. They shouldn't be doing that. And for them to just go, nope, I give up, I'm out, and leave, that doesn't happen.
Yeah, it's like the US military going, there's a lot of oil here, but I'm kind of scared of that weird guy over there with a space laser, so I'm just gonna go. Except the space laser is just bugs. The world's worst cockroach infestation.
The Imperium discovered what had happened on Tyran after they just rocked up onto a planet, and it was just fucking ruins. And there was nothing. Like, nothing there. Every bit of biological matter had just been wiped out from existence. And this was in M41, which is 41st millennium. So, I'm bringing this up because it's relevant. And the Inquisitor who discovered it, Inquisitor Cryptman, he eventually found the info core that had been dropped to the center of the planet. Not quite the center, but deep underground by the...
What's an info core?
Like, it's a core... I used info core, I don't remember the exact name of it. But it's like a data core that just has, here's everything that just happened. And it's been dropped down a giant tube, so it has survived the destruction of the planet because it is embedded deep underground.
So sort of like a pneumatic tube containing a black box.
Yeah, basically. That is pretty much exactly what it is. It's this black box that if shit's going to get fucked, they can press the button, the base explodes and it shoots it down underground so that the Imperium can come in and recover it and be like, okay, what the fuck happened on this planet? How did everything that just happened happen? Oh, there's this black box over at this location. And
No. Convenient.
and he discovered it, and it had all of the information of everything that the Tyranids did, what happened, what they faced, and that was the first official discovery of the Tyranids by the Imperium.
Well, that must have been fucking terrifying, because you're just like, you're going there and you're just, okay, what the fuck happened here? It's like being that scientist who rocked up to the Antarctic base at the end of the thing. You're looking around, you're confused. Why the hell is there a burnt fucking abomination? What the hell happened here? And instead you just find a little capsule that's like, hey, shit's fucked and there's evil bugs.
This is basically what happened, because they sent him out to be like, why did this planet stop responding? And then you get there and there's nothing. This planet that like had life on it now is just a desolate rock. All life on this planet, and I mean all life, including like microbacteria that exist in the water, is dead. Everything is, and it's not just dead, it's not corpses, it's gone. You're getting to that planet and everyone is dead and there is no bodies. The planet has been completely stripped clean because that's what the Tyranids do. They consume all biomass. So there are no bodies. You have found cities that should have billions of people and it's empty.
To my dear audience, I just wanted to say, that sounds like the fucking necromorphs, man.
It's actually kind of like fucking that Doctor Who episode, the Vashta Narada.
Oh, I was gonna say the other one with the stingrays.
I don't remember
Planet
the
of the
stingray
Dead?
ones. But when they rock up at a
It's a
planet
weird one.
and there is supposed to be billions of people here and it's empty. That Inquisitor, he came up with a bold strategy for Tyranid invasions, which is just blow up the planet.
Yeah, starve them.
Yeah. Oh, they're about to attack a planet? Well, they're going to win, so just blow up the planet. Kill everything on it. They can't eat what doesn't exist.
It's a mercy killing.
Pretty much, because the Tyranid deaths are horrible. You're being ripped apart at microscopic levels, or sometimes not so microscopic levels, and just eaten alive. It's a horrible death. Yeah, so everything that the Tyranids use are organic parts of their body.
God. Yeah, how's your workday, Clive? Oh, had to be turned into the ship's engine. Normal day. Just becoming wall paste. Well, then again, I guess it's a hive mind, so it's sort of like the turn gate from Penumbra, in that they don't see anything as individual. They can only comprehend we, the collective.
I have no idea what the fuck you're talking about.
I'm talking about Penumbra. God, you don't play anything.
The fuck is Penumbra?
You've never heard of Penumbra?
No.
Penumbra Overture?
No.
You know frictional games, right?
No.
Amnesia? You had a very boring childhood then if you weren't raised on Amnesia Let's Plays.
Okay,
Penumbra's...
I'm 6 years older than you. Of course I wasn't raised on fucking Amnesia Let's Plays. Amnesia came out when I was like 15.
Okay, fair point.
I wasn't an 8-year-old child given free access to the internet. When I was a child, I had fucking dial-up. I couldn't watch YouTube. What the fuck are you talking about?
It's this... Honestly, I think you would kind of like the story. It's a good game.
Right, sure. So, the Hive Mind, right?
Mm-hmm.
No one knows what the Hive Mind is.
Well, a hive mind.
Yeah,
actually.
But they don't know if the Hive Mind is just a shared consciousness, if it's a god. There's theories that it might be a god. There's theories that it might be the old ones controlling them.
Yes.
They're not Lovecraftian old ones. The old ones that created the lizard men.
Boo.
They also created the orcs. In 40k, they created the orcs. They also created the Eldar. They got into a big intergalactic war with interstellar war. One of them. War with the Necrons, which they got them wiped out, and the theory is maybe that they're vengeance sent from the old ones to be like, fuck these guys. But no one knows what they are. It's suggested that any attempts to explain what the Hive Mind is explaining the unexplainable. That the Hive Mind is just simply the Hive Mind. and you are trying to apply human terms to something completely inhuman.
Mm.
But the Hive Mind controls everything all of the Tyranids do. But
Well, makes sense.
there are too many Tyranids for it to control well. So it controls something, which controls something else, which controls something else, which are specific node units. So any Tyranid unit you look at that's particularly large, that's a node unit. So that receives orders, and then that gives orders out. It's basically like the entire Tyranid structure in and of itself is a brain. And if you were to, say, target a synaptic unit, one of the large units, and kill that, it might release a psychic backblast to the Tyranid unit surrounding it, the smaller ones, which will kill them. Or, if they don't die, they'll just...
Get pissed off?
No, they'll stop moving. Or they'll just stop firing and start aimlessly walking until they run into another synaptic unit, and they'll connect to the synapses of that unit, and then they'll start functioning again. You can literally just kill the entire Tyranid higher command, and the entire thing falls apart.
I don't know why that's so funny to me. It's just sort of like little AI bots.
Yeah, they're basically just a series of computers, like in All You Need Is Kill, which is the book of the film Edge of Tomorrow, which did not like that film. I've never met someone who liked that film. Yet all I've ever heard is good things about that film. But the book, really good. Highly recommend.
Is Edge of Tomorrow the one where it's like Tom Cruise or something?
Yes, Tom Cruise. And
he's like stuck in a daily loop.
Yeah, but the book is a lot better and a lot more interesting, and it does a lot more with the time travel mechanic or the time loop mechanic than the film does.
Yeah, I'm not really surprised. It was kind of a weird film. I never saw it. I just watched a YouTuber explain it, and it was just like, that's a movie.
You can get it on Comixology, or you can pirate it. I'm not your fucking boss, so I can't tell you what to do. But
you technically are my boss, though.
If you want to actually buy it, you could buy it on Comixology on Amazon and read it that way. It's really good. Highly recommend it. All You Need Is Kill. There's a manga adaptation. That's the one that I read. There's also a light novel, which is the original version of it. Anyway, still on the topic of books. There is a book that I started reading that I really need to finish reading called Blindsight. And it presents this idea of sentience being an evolutionary aberration. And
love that.
Completely unnatural. So the fact that humans are sentient is wrong. And most life in the universe is not sentient. It's intelligent, but it isn't sentient. And Tyranids very much give me that vibe. That whatever consciousness the Hive Mind has, whatever intelligence that it has, it's not sentient. It's not doing anything for any reason other than it is simply doing it.
It's just pure instinct.
Yeah.
It's not calculated.
It's why there's a reasonable argument that with our current knowledge, the Tyranids are the only faction in Warhammer 40,000 that isn't evil. Because every faction has a lot of problems. With the exception of maybe the Votan. They're doing shady shit, but they're not explicitly evil. And Farsight Enclaves aren't explicitly evil. They're still kind of doing shady shit. There's a few factions that do shady shit, but they're not evil. But humanity, the orcs, well, orcs are complicated. Chaos, all of that, they're all fucking evil. The Tyranids...
Well, except for the Skaven. Skaven's a bit...
Well, Skaven are fantasy. There's a great joke.
I said the baby.
There's a great joke where it's all of the fantasy factions meeting their Warhammer 40,000 counterparts. And, the elves come out and they meet the Eldar. The dwarves come out and they meet the Votan. And the Imperium is like, oh yes, we're looking forward to meeting the humans or the fantasy. And then the Skaven come out. Just plague-ridden fucking no value life vermin that exist everywhere in the quadrillions. And just spreading everything. They're a bunch of fucking morons that are just ruining everything. Imperium and Skaven. Just same fucking thing.
Love that.
But the Tyranids are basically, as far as we know, as true neutral as you could possibly get. Just wild animals functioning as wild animals. And there's not really much of a rhyme or reason to why they do things. They just consume. And that is why they are consuming. And because of that, they don't really seem to have much of an intelligence behind them. They will occasionally just attack each other, which doesn't make sense. And no one can figure out why they do that. Like, people who specialize in Tyranids are just like, why the fuck are they attacking each other? Because they're both controlled by the same Hive Mind. So why the fuck is the Hive Mind attacking itself?
Maybe it's like a sort of, what's the word? Immune system response. Where sometimes the body just hates itself and wants to attack.
It's just the immune system attacking the immune system. There's, theories that maybe they evolved wrong and they need to wipe out that arm. But that doesn't really make that much sense, because you could just send it out, they die, and then it's a waste of resources. Though, they consume it themselves and generate more biomass. The Tyranids are weird, man. But they also have this thing called the Shadow and the Warp. Here's me sending you some of the pictures. This is artwork of the Shadow and the Warp.
Oh, I love that.
So a lot of things in Warhammer are to some degree psychic, and there's the Warp, as we mentioned, but in the fantasy stuff. But the Warp in 40k is how psychics work, and it's how faster than life travel happens. So you've seen Event Horizon, yes?
Yep.
Yeah. Event Horizon, Warhammer movie. Look it up. It's a thing. The process in Event Horizon of sort of kicking through the door and traveling through another dimension and then ending back out in the normal dimension. That other dimension is the Warp.
That does make sense.
Yeah.
Actually.
But
I think I remember hearing that theory, yeah.
But psychics also use the Warp. That's how they sort of bring part of the Warp into reality and manifest it. They can also telepathically communicate across large distances to, for example, warn people that there is something coming. Their planet's being attacked. They might not be able to send a warning out, but they can send a psychic warning out to the other side of the galaxy. The other side of the galaxy goes, oh, this planet's being attacked. We'll send some Space Marines. The Tyranids have the Shadow and the Warp, which is an immense psychic warp presence that just blocks everything. You can't get a psychic warning out. You can't enter the warp to flee using space travel. And any ship that manages to enter the warp or is already in the warp when they cross Tyranids can just be ejected out into a random location, which the warp
might be merciful.
The warp doesn't function chronologically. So you might not come out when you come out or when you enter. So, say you're traveling for a month, your destination you've got put. You might get knocked out of the warp and you come out 20,000 years in the past. Things weren't going great 20,000 years in the past. It's not a great time to go. 20,000 years into the future, maybe everything's been eaten by the Tyranids.
I just imagine getting sent back to prehistoric times, and you've just got this space marine staring at a dinosaur
Yeah, maybe you just get sent back. Well, prehistoric times, things are going pretty bad. That's you're getting around the War in Heaven, Birth of Slaanesh sort of time period. You don't want to come out of that time. But this Shadow of the Warp can also just break the minds of psychics if they try to use psychic powers. It just breaks their brain. It's like an immense psychic backlash that sends you into sheer madness. Which, I know I said in the previous episode, I don't like when people do that shit. But this I can kind of forgive because it's magic. It's magic bullshit. That's why. It's not just I've seen something unbelievable. It's, I just got attacked by a psychic entity of such an extreme degree, and it has physically broken my brain. And sometimes it just kills them. sometimes instead of being psychically attacked and their brain go mad, their brain just explode and they die. Sometimes their entire head explodes and they die. Sometimes their entire body
Steve.
explodes and they die.
Yeah, poor Steve. How'd he go? You know, warp.
It really... Being there really sucks for any psychics, which all humans have a sort of latent degree of psychicness, so any human just kind of feels uncomfortable. Psychics, specifically, have a really bad time. All Eldar, because all Eldar are psychic, have a very, very bad time, because they're very good psychics. It's described as being sometimes just it's numbing, so you just feel very numb, and it's not terrible. And other times, it's a severe existential dread or a never-ending cacophonous noise in your head.
God.
It is, however, fine for the Tau, because the Tau have no psychic presence. They have no warp presence. And the Necrons, because the Necrons aren't real.
What do you mean the Necrons aren't real?
They're all machines. They have no souls. They had souls. They don't have souls anymore.
What, so are Necrons the leftovers of Stormcast husks?
I mean, not Stormcast, because that's fantasy, but the Necron souls got eaten, and none of them have personality, except for, like, the nobility. They get to maintain their personality and sentience, and they're just kind of really bummed about the whole we don't have souls thing, and their whole goal is, hey, what if we just got our souls back?
Did it work?
Currently, no.
Oh, poor guys.
I was watching a video about the Warhammer kids books. It was the thing. And they introduce in those kids books an actual device that can bring the Necron souls back. And they establish it works. It's not just maybe this might work and then it doesn't work. There's a device that is critical to the plot for one of the factions of this is what we've been fighting for this entire time. And then it's just sort of brought up and destroyed with very little fanfare. Which is wild. And the guy doing the video also brings up that that's wild. that was a thing that was approved by GW. But with the whole Shadow and the Warp thing, the Necrons also seem immune to the Warp, because the Warp is a malevolent entity in its own right, filled with malevolent entities. And non-consensually going into the Warp is a very bad time for whoever that happens to.
Oh, so right back to my immune system response thing.
Yeah. Well, that's the Warp. The Warp's different. It's just filled with demons who are like, ooh, cool. They get Event Horizon.
Oh, no.
However, Tyranids have been... And Tyranids can't enter the Warp. No, they don't have Warp technology. They can't enter the Warp. However, they have been observed going into the Warp, where they're being eaten by like stray Warp rifts or whatever, and then just spat out completely unharmed, unmutated. It's like the Warp doesn't want them. The Warp goes, oh yeah, here's the thing we can absolutely body, and then it gets it and goes, and just spits it back out. They are
licorice.
They are completely immune to Warp mutations. Also, yeah, there is, however, an ultramarine librarian who seems to be connected to the Hive Mind, because anyone who tries to connect specifically to the Hive Mind itself dies.
Goes insane?
No, they just die. If you try to use psychic abilities near the Tyranids, you might die or you might go insane. Gamble. If you try to connect to the Hive Mind itself, you just die. That sucks. Shouldn't have done that. But an ultramarine librarian tried to do it, and he didn't die. And he can now predict what the Tyranids are going to do. The movements that their military is going to make. He is connected into the Hive Mind and knows exactly what the Tyranids are doing.
Have the Tyranids noticed him yet?
Remember how I said the Tyranids might not be smart?
Bless.
They don't seem to have an intelligence, so even if they have noticed him, they might not understand that he's not just a Tyranid. Because if he's connected to the Hive Mind, then he must be a Tyranid.
If not friend, why friendship?
Yeah. Or maybe they don't know he's there. Or maybe they know he's there and they just don't think it's important. We don't know how smart the Tyranids are. They might just be wild animals, and as wild animals, they might not notice. It's like how the whole thing of allegedly cats don't realize that humans aren't cats.
I'm pretty sure my cats know that I'm not a cat.
Well, that's why cats try to, like, meow and do shit.
What are
And
they
like,
gonna do? Speak fucking English?
bring animals and stuff. Is because they're trying to teach you how to hunt. And
Yeah, because they think you're a dumbass.
meowing is how they talk to baby cats. And baby cats, because baby cats don't have as developed hearing. So it's them
Same.
trying to communicate to you as though you were a baby cat. And them trying to teach you how to hunt. Whereas dogs understand that human is human and human not dog. Remember how I said Tyranids strip biomass from planets?
Is this when you're about to tell me they turn it into a brethren moon?
No.
Damn.
They... Fuck. I know what you're referencing, but you've completely... That just threw off my entire train of thought.
Friendship in a nutshell.
Yeah. Anyway, so sometimes they will kill an entire population of a planet.
Just for food?
No, that's what they always do. They kill entire populations of planets for food. But they'll kill the entire population of the planet and then just leave it and not strip it of biomass, leaving it for another Hive Fleet to come up and just get all the biomass.
So recycling, except unethically.
Yeah, it's like they realize that they don't need this biomass. They have enough biomass stored. Whereas this other Hive Fleet needs more biomass. So they can't expend the units to get this biomass, but we can, and we don't need to replenish while they need to replenish, so they'll just leave it.
Recycling. Like when you're not hungry, but you just give it to your partner instead, because you're like, fuck it, I already made it. Here, eat.
Yeah, basically. So there's the different Hive Fleets, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which each Hive Fleet specializes in a different thing. They, like, some will focus mainly on ranged, some will be mostly flying, some will be ground exclusive. They each specialize on a different thing, which is kind of weird. But on top of that being kind of weird, is different Hive Fleets have different colors.
Like, are the colors representative of anything like with the orcs? Where it's like, oh, green mean extra smart.
Well, all orcs are green. The colors have to do with orcs' psychic field and sort of how they paint things. But
I'm gonna beat you up.
the greens, the orcs are somewhat more intelligent than that to have an understanding of why we do things as colors. But if all the Hive Fleets are run by the Hive Mind, why are there different colors? That doesn't make sense. The Hive Fleet doesn't need to do colors. There's a theory that, like, it's so that they could recognize each other, which, as I said, doesn't make sense because they don't need to recognize each other. It's the one intelligence controlling it all. It doesn't need to recognize itself. Unless maybe it does, because maybe it's not fucking smart. Maybe it's a fucking koala
Idiot brain.
that needs to see. It's so smooth brain. It needs to see this color mean this thing. Otherwise, it's gonna go, doesn't match color. Must be Tyranid. Got to attack. Maybe that's why it's attacking itself.
Tyranids are just evolved forms of koalas. I will not be taking any questions at this time.
One of the things that it suggested was maybe it's literally got colors just to confuse people. To confuse its prey, that they're trying to make sense of why is this a different color.
But it's clearly fucking working
Yeah.
if we're speculating about it.
I think I talked about Hive Fleet several times, but didn't really talk about what Hive Fleets are, which is, the giant fucking tendrils entering the galaxy.
Makes sense.
And the Hive Fleets are made up of bioships, which are their ships, which are all living organisms, but they're a symbiote. A bioship is not a singular organism in its own right. It is multiple organisms making up a ship. And then
like a best friend chain.
Yeah.
Of bodies.
And then at the core, it's like the Legolo in Halo, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where, the hunters and the scarabs are not one entity. They're a hive of entities making up a ship or making up a unit. That's basically what bioships are. It's a collective of entities that have been bred and created specifically to form a ship. And at
That makes sense.
the center of that
Is
is
it brain?
hive ships. And hive ships contain Norn queens.
What?
And Norn queens use biomass to create and birth new Tyranids.
Oh, that's great.
Do you want to know more about Norn queens?
I do, but I'm also terrified to know more about them because
Cool.
I'm just imagining like.
That's about all the information there is on Norn queens. Congratulations.
Oh fucking! I hate you.
There's some like small stuff where if a Norn queen dies, it creates psychic duplicates or something like that. I was struggling to understand what it was talking about, but it creates a massive psychic backlash. And once again, that's about all the information on Norn queens. They're referenced a bunch, and then apparently they weren't referenced again for a while, and they're referenced in 10th edition. I was reading the 10th edition codex, and they are named, but there's no further information about them. They're just sort of, hey, there's this thing. They apparently control the Hive Fleet. Okay, I would like to know more. Give me more information. They birth Tyranids.
No.
They control the Hive Fleets. That's it. Neat.
Man, I love fulfilling stories.
Do the Norn Queens make up the Hive Mind? Is the Hive Mind giving orders to the Norn Queens? Where are they in the hierarchy of things? Don't know.
Well, they're queens. I can tell you
Yeah.
that much.
They don't have.
About it.
They don't even have a fucking model. Like there's so little information about them. There's no artwork of them. Just they exist.
Well, if there's no artwork of them, are we really sure?
Well, they have apparently been seen. So in like it mentions in 10th edition codex of people rocking up on Tyranid ships and how much of a fucking nightmare that is, and how very few people survive that process in its own right. And when they see shit, they see how fucking weird these ships are. But it also mentions, seeing Norn queens. So they've been seen. The Imperium knows what a Norn queen is. They know what it looks like. But
I am just imagining, like, the Reaper, the human Reaper from Mass Effect 2. I don't know why.
fair. It's been a very long time since I played Mass Effect 2.
Oh god, it creeped me the fuck out. Loved it, but it creeped me out.
But with Hive Fleets, right? And the Hive Fleet specializing in different things. There is a Hive Fleet called Hive Fleet Tiamat, which...
As in, like, the god of destruction, Tiamat?
Yeah, and it got its name because it colonized the Tiamat system.
Wow.
However,
These naming conventions are more and more creative each day.
as I said, it colonized the Tiamat system. It didn't
Oh, shit.
consume the Tiamat system. It has left biomass in the Tiamat system. It guards the system. And for the most part, have been left alone by the Imperium because the sheer amount of resources that it would be required to purge the Tiamat system, not worth it, because they don't pose a threat, seemingly.
Yet. Wonder how long that's gonna last.
Yeah, because the system itself, and the planet specifically that they are colonized, produces psychic screams,
Oh, I don't like that.
which have been getting louder and louder. And
I just imagine that, by the way you're saying that, I imagine the psychic screams are just the amount of biomass that they've been collecting and bringing back to this point
Well, see-
to create, like, a massive creature.
that's the thing. People have gone onto the planet, and there are giant towers, like biomass towers, that they have just been building all over the planet. And if you try to use psychic abilities next to them, you die. You just get psychically fried.
A screaming tower
Yeah.
of flesh and pain.
But all they're doing is building more towers. And a lot of the Gene Stealer cults, when they capture like a ship full of people and they send that ship to the Tyranid Hive Fleet, they send it specifically to Tiamat. The Gene Stealer cults originate in Tiamat. They've been found in Tiamat. The first ever Gene Stealer was found in Tiamat. Whatever the fuck that Tiamat is doing, it is very important for the Tyranids. But the thing is, remember how I pointed out that the Tyranids were first discovered in Tyranid at M41?
Yes?
The first fought the Tyranids in M35, which is 5,000 years before the game start.
Oh, shit.
And they rocked up 5,000 years before, colonized this system, and sat on that system for 5,000 years. And there was another one called Hive Fleet Ouroboros, which was 1,000 years later.
Gotta love Ouroboros.
It was a very small fleet. It attacked, it got defeated, and that was sort of it. And then it disappeared. And it wasn't until the Tyranids showed up again did Imperial records go, no, these motherfuckers match the description of whatever the fuck was at Ouroboros. But also, they match the description of whatever the fuck is at Tiamat. So they've sort of pieced together that even though the Tyranids come from Tyran, because that's where they met them, that's not the first time they ever encountered them. There is a theory that whatever the Tyranids are building in Tiamat is basically a psychic beacon to direct all of the Tyranids to where they're going. This is where we're going. This is what we're attacking.
So it's sort of like a giant radio system that's like, hey!
Yeah. It is the Tyranid version of the Astronomicon, which we'll get into the Astronomicon when we discuss the Imperium. But the real short is the Astronomicon is a lighthouse in the warp, and it is the only reason that humans can do warp travel. Otherwise, they'll just get lost in the warp. The theory is that whatever Tiamat is, it is the Tyranid version of the Astronomicon. However, that being said, what got the Tyranids' intention of the Milky Way, and that there are things in the Milky Way, was during the Horus Heresy, there was a Necron device known as Pharos that was blown up. I don't look into what this is, but Necron's technology is a lot. Blew up, and it basically shot a beacon throughout the warp, and the Tyranids latched onto it and went, okay, there's something there. Now, it is the Astronomicon that guides them. They are specifically following the Astronomicon. Because of the light of the Astronomicon, they know where to go. And they know to find this.
Once more, humanity has become the subject of its own defeat.
Yeah, hoisted by their own petard.
Tower of Babel.
Oh yeah, this was just sort of like an aside. Apparently Catachan devils and Fenrisian krakens are presumed to be descendants of Tyranids, which, fucking what? I hate that. The source for this was apparently the 4th and 5th edition codexes, so hopefully that was just someone who thought they were cooking and very much weren't, and has been in one of those soft, oh, don't worry about that. Let's never talk of this again. Because it does happen. It happens every now and then, where Warhammer comes up with an interesting idea and then abandons it.
Immediately retcons.
Or a terrible idea and then abandons it. So, Tyranids adapt to the situation they need. I remember a story, I didn't look too much into it because I just didn't. But where they attacked a planet and it was a death world because it was so industrialized that everything was poison. And the humans were like, haha, motherfuckers, because Tyranids usually come in through the ocean because they can land in the ocean, consume all of the biomass in the ocean itself, and then emerge from the ocean much stronger. And humans aren't in the ocean, so they can just attack uncontested. Tyranids came and they were like, oh, these motherfuckers are going to land in the ocean. Get fucking wrecked. The motherfuckers landed in the ocean and immediately died because the ocean was acidic and poison and everything wrong. It was landing in hyper radioactive ocean, and the entire Tyranid invasion force was wiped out. And then they came back. Well, they were still there, but they sent in the second wave, and they landed in the ocean, and they were like, wow, these motherfuckers just really landed in the ocean again. And then the Tyranids emerged from the ocean.
Uh-oh.
Because they had adapted. They'd gone, oh, ocean poison, ocean bad, stay out of ocean, or we could just become immune to whatever the fuck is in the ocean.
Adapt, improvise, overcome.
And like they'll learn from losses, but also sometimes just adapt mid-fight. As I said, they'll just adapt to the ocean. And different hive fleets will share the adaptation, like an immunity. So, they've manufactured diseases that will kill Tyranids, and they'll use it to wipe out a hive fleet and go, awesome, this is done. And then a different hive fleet on the other side of the galaxy will attack, and they'll use the same disease, and that hive fleet will be completely immune because they've adapted across the galaxy with some sort of quantum knowledge, quantum brain sort of situation.
It's a hive mind of cockroaches.
Basically. And that's why it's so weird to me that they fight each other. Is they can adapt mid-fight, so why are they attacking each other? Like this is my time knife. No, not the time knife.
No, you're right.
No, the time knife's a different thing. This is my dot on the eye. This is my dot on Jeremy Barrowman. The Tyranids attacking each other broke me. Researching them and then be like, this makes sense. They attack each other. What? Huh? What? What? I don't understand. As nonsensical of a lot of this is, I can make sense of it in a way. Tyranids attacking each other, I can't make sense of. Nothing about that makes sense. Everything about that is mind-boggling.
I just like to think that sometimes they're like responding with an immune system, going, I hate you. I'm gonna just kill you. Is that cool? Yeah, that's cool. I'm just gonna kill you now.
But like, they're also adapting to have psychic powers.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Psychic cockroaches.
Also, like, on the topic of evolution and adaptation, right? Electric eels. What? How?
Oh,
like,
not this.
Evolution is just natural advantage that leads from, like, one mutation coming out on top of the other, and that's more beneficial. So all the ones that don't have the mutation, like white skin in the snow, they all die. And the one that has, white fur in the snow, they live. And that's, how it gets passed down. That makes sense. And harnessing the powers of Thor, definitely up there as advantageous mutations. But just having a mutation in the first place where you can harness bioelectricity for offensive matter, what the fucking X-Men bullshit is that? Is there like a world where fucking humans just like, yeah, we could just shoot lightning out of our hands? Or have like electric touch? Because, our nervous system is just electrical signals, but what if we just had a little battery inside that we could harness it into increased power and just shoot fucking lightning out? Fucking get fucked.
Are you okay?
The point of this is, Tyranids have bioelectricity. And it's bullshit. Nothing should have bioelectricity, including electric eels. Doesn't make sense.
Well, I was also going to say, are Tyranids just your electric eels? They're just that confusing.
So much of Tyranids is just confusing. But, as I said, in a way that sort of makes sense, but every now and then, it's the attacking each other. But electric eels, bullshit. Fucking come to this podcast to learn about Tyranids. Stay for a man having a mental breakdown about electric eels existing. Evolution makes sense. I get it. It completely makes sense. But the ability to evolve electricity is stupid. Anyway, all of Tyranids' weapons are biological. They're all organic. They're all built into themselves. They don't like have little guns. The guns are their arms. And sometimes these guns is just a horse cock. Sometimes that's just how that's shaked out. Sometimes they evolve a little plaster, and sometimes they evolve a giant horse dick.
Welcome to Ratman, everybody. This is where we have very unhinged moments, like horse dicks.
It's gonna get more unhinged, because we'll start talking about the Neurolictor, and everyone's reaction to the Neurolictor.
Do I want to ask?
You might not want to ask, but you'll learn.
Isn't that the whole point of this podcast? That's literally what you're like. You might not learn, but you'll learn.
But these horsecock electric eel motherfuckers are also
Oh wow, that really is.
never truly defeated. Like, if a Hive Fleet is killed, one always escapes and just hides for possibly hundreds of years while they just slowly accumulate biomass and recover, and then they just go back out again. It's why there's such like an existential threat, because who knows how many of them there are. They're struggling with the barest amount, and even if you kill them, they're not dead. And they have the powers of electric eels.
You really don't like the Tyranids, do you?
I love the Tyranids. They were what got me into the game. I saw the Tyranids and went, these are fucking awesome. But then I also read the lore and went, this is stupid. This is so stupid. But also, awesome. This is so awesome. But also, why the fuck is their gun a horsecock? Also,
I mean, I'd be fucking terrified, wouldn't you?
yeah, I guess. But also, why do electric eels exist? These are all important questions that I need answers from GW. I need to find James himself and ask him, why do electric eels exist? And he will give me an answer, and I will never be satisfied.
Or he'll, get you arrested and put into a loony bin. Either way, we'll both get an answer.
So,
God, why do Tyranids look so goofy?
so now we'll just get onto some of the models. And by some of the models, I mean 2 notable named models, and then a couple less named models. First is the Swarm Lord.
Love that.
Now,
That sounds awesome.
Tyranids have a thing called a Hive Tyrant. A Hive Tyrant is a very powerful unit. I think you sent me a picture of a Hive Tyrant earlier. No, it is in the picture that you sent me of all the artwork that you're using for bases of. But the
Basis is off. No, I just found that as a cheat sheet.
that's same. Okay, yeah, whatever. Anyway, so the Hive Tyrant is basically put in charge of an attack force,
He's got so many blades.
and it got guns. It got pew pew, and it got some swords, which are made out of bone. It got some bone swords, and it got some guns.
And it's got a cool horn. Bone horn.
Yeah, and it's got a bone horn. And then there is the Swarm Lord, which there is only one Swarm Lord. It is a form of a Hive Tyrant that is immortal. It is.
Didn't you earlier say that there was a dead Swarm Lord and that's what broke some of the idiot spawns?
I said Hive Tyrant.
My bad.
Yeah.
My bad.
And that's just any synapse creature, and a Hive Tyrant is a synapse creature. But the Swarm Lord is immortal, and there's only one of them. Any Hive Fleet
Like a Great
can
Mind.
create it, and it carries the memories of all previous battles, all of its knowledge. It said personality? That's weird.
Well, yeah, of course it's having a personality if it can remember everything.
What do you mean it has a personality? These are supposed to be
personality?
mindless creatures controlled by a hive mind. Why has it got a personality?
Because something's got to have a damn mind.
But the Swarm Lord has 4 bone swords. And, again, immortal. And sometimes it'll just show up multiple times in a fight. It'll die and then it'll come back. But but it is only usually summoned if the Tyranids are losing a fight. So,
He's the granddaddy nuke.
yeah, if you're winning a battle against the Tyranids, the Swarm
No,
Lord
you're not.
might show up. There is also...
But basically the gun to a rock, paper, scissors challenge.
Never I used gun. Now you did.
Yeah, pretty much. There's also Old One Eye, which that's a picture of his old model, and that's a picture of his new model. One of them is a lot better than the other one.
They both look goofy as hell to me.
Yeah, well,
Like the bottom one is a crab.
yeah, the bottom one is also a 4th edition model, so it's 10? No, 15 years old? It's old.
The one looks like a confused fucking coral snake, and the other one just looks like a really, really edgy lobster.
Yeah, I like how it's got barnacles. The top one. I don't know why it's got barnacles. But Old One Eye
Well-
is an immortal Carnifex, which was shot in the head with a plasma pistol, which killed it. And it eventually returned, missing its eye. Because...
Oh, shit. Permanent.
Yeah. And then its frozen corpse was found by smugglers. And being...
Who the fuck sees a... Actually, no. I was about to make a joke, but The Thing fucking exists. The Thing movie literally just depicts what the fuck happens when someone's like,
Ooh, shiny.
Because it went missing, right? And there was a bounty... Because there was a bounty on One Eye. So they saw it and went, oh, fuck, this is the thing on the bounty. But they then thought it out to, like, get the bounty and verify that it's dead. Because it's frozen. Of course it's dead. However, once again, it's immortal. They didn't know this fact. So it regenerated. But it regenerated everything except the chunk of its face that's missing.
Yes, you do.
And then it killed everyone. And started raiding the planet that it was on. And then it was killed by the Ultramarines. You will learn, as we cover 40k, the Ultramarines always show up. I don't like them. I'm one of the many, many people who don't really like the Ultramarines. But the Ultramarines show up, and they kill it. But its body was never found. And it has since been killed on many planets. So, either it's the same Tyranid that just keeps regenerating and is somehow moving planets, or the Hive Mind, or Norn Queens, whatever, keep recreating this one Tyranid that is always missing its fucking eye. Which is weird. It's weird that they would do that.
That kind of be like fucking bringing back the Terminator constantly and just keeping his robot eye in there.
Yeah.
Like, kind of defeating the purpose?
Well, when I was a kid, I also just thought, like, Carnifexes were just the coolest shit. They were, like, the best Warhammer model in my 11-year-old's brain. It was like, every other model fucking sucks. Carnifex. That's where it's at. I always wanted a Carnifex. And I don't give a shit anymore. I really don't care. I always...
Never just fellas.
I always wanted a Carnifex. I always wanted a Lehman Russ. And I always wanted a Baneblade. I have made no attempts looking into Carnifexes and buying a Carnifex. I inadvertently bought a Lehman Russ. I just bought a Cadia pack that came with a Lehman Russ. The Cadia Stands pack. So I now just own a Lehman Russ. And I've set a Baneblade as like a personal goal. If I like hit this personal goal, then I can buy myself a Baneblade. So even though I could buy myself a Baneblade now, easy, I'm not going to until I hit that personal goal. Which is fulfilling a dream that 11-year-old me had. So
you know what? Let it rip, man.
I will.
Let it rip.
I will keep you all posted when I get that Beyblade.
What kind of Beyblade are you looking at, though?
Well, you buy the one Baneblade. Fuck, we're both saying
Yeah,
Baneblade.
Blah, blah, blah.
You buy the one Baneblade, and it has different like cannons that you can get in it. So it has different stuff, so it looks different. I would just build a regular Baneblade, and then I will just buy 7 more Baneblades and build every alternative version of a Beyblade.
I was going to say just add razors to it to make it the extra ultimate Beyblade.
They're like $250.
Beyblades?
Yeah.
Fucking hell. They used to be like, what, $10?
You're talking about Beyblade? I am talking about Baneblade. A Baneblade
Bane.
is an Imperial Guard tank. Beyblades are little spinner tops that were banned at my primary school.
The thing from Power Wash Simulator.
The thing from Power Wash Simulator.
Shut up! It works! I genuinely thought you were talking about a fucking Beyblade, and I'm like, well, hey.
Yeah, I'm gonna
gonna
get
stop
back
a guy
into the
from-
game, and someone's gonna put down their fucking Nord emissary, and I'm gonna be like, oh, yo, motherfucker, let it rip, and pull out my Baneblade and shatter it into pieces. That's how we play Warhammer where I come from.
That's just a new Skaven technology.
We found Whirlywhirl.
I mean, they got Doom wheels, so...
Let.
So
So they technically...
Doom wheels are big spinning wheels that Skaven rides on top of.
like a cat on a Roomba. Except the Roomba is spinning at 1,000
Well, they don't
miles an
they
hour.
don't spin sideways. Here's a little video of a Doom wheel. But I mentioned this one in passing because I mentioned the next one in passing because someone specifically requested them, because when you said
Vampires?
no, in our Stormcast episode you said baby is born, baby gets a gun.
Yeah, baby get gun.
There, and someone brought it up as that's basically what the Tervagons do. Which, yeah, that's basically what the Tervagons do. So when the Hive Fleets are traveling through space, all of the Tyranids inside are hibernating. They're all asleep. However, the Tervagons never sleep. They just walk the halls of the bioships and the Hive ships. And they just carry a sack of termagants. And if someone shows up, they just spew a bunch of newly born termagants who then now just attack the thing. It's literally baby is born, but except baby is born holding a gun and they come out blasting.
Just like Danny DeVito would have wanted.
Oh, I'll send you the model of a tervagon. They look like a fucking ball sack with nids coming out of them.
Well, I hate that thing.
Yeah, and there's its model.
Man, I love having a pussy blaster. Cut that out.
Oh. Look, you got pussy blasters and you got fucking cock guns.
And that's the Tyranids.
Yeah.
Horsecocks, pussy blasters. Welcome to the game, motherfucker.
But
You just cut there and that's the end of the episode.
so remember how I said that nids don't really seem to have much of an intelligence behind them?
Mm-hmm.
That is what is called burying the lead. Because everything with the Gene Stealer cults, there is a degree of malicious intelligence. And I wanted to start off this show with the Gene Stealer cults because I thought you'd love it. And
Love cults.
then I came up with the name Good Morning Ratman, so I decided to do the Skaven, and then I was going to do the Gene Stealer cults. And then I realized I can't really do the Gene Stealer cults justice if you don't know what the fuck a Tyranid is. So I have to explain the Tyranids so we can do the Gene Stealer cults, which will be our next 40k episode. But everything about them is so malicious, but intelligently done. And something like that doesn't evolve. Something like that is designed by something smart and intelligent. They're on a tangent. There's a show that I loved as a kid called Being Human, which is...
Sounds familiar.
It's about a werewolf, a vampire, and a ghost living together. It was a British show. There was an American remake, which wasn't as... It was good, but it had a lot less edge to it, because you could get away with more in Britain. But there's a conversation, a dialogue, a scene, early on in like the third episode, where it shows the werewolf transforming. And the entire time it's narrated by the vampire exactly what his body is going through. Just look up Being Human werewolf transformation scene Mitchell. You'll find it. And he goes into extensive detail of just how violent and brutal and oppressive this transformation is. And something like that doesn't evolve. Something like that is created. That werewolves within the show are proof of the existence of God, because everything else could be justified with just something. But lycanthropy can't evolve, and the Gene Stealer cults are very much like that. They can't evolve. That's not something that's evolved. That's something that's designed. The Hive Mind has to be intelligent for it to make something like that. Just the extreme level of cruelty and planning and centuries of planning and forethought that the Gene Stealer cults require, that's intelligent. But on top of that, they've been doing stuff recently with Leviathan that are intelligent, where they have been sending out the Norn emissaries, who are assassins. And they are being sent out to go past enemy lines and pick commanders and kill them and ignore everything else. They kill them and then they disappear, causing the entire chain of command to fracture. So it needs to have an intelligence to understand what a chain of command is, to be able to identify who is a leader, but also to be able to gain knowledge on who are these leaders, which ones are important, because it's ignoring Custodes, who you'd think the Custodes are really important, and instead going after Leonis Solus, I think was his name, and other important people. It's ignoring what are more important, more powerful units to go after figureheads. People who mean a lot to the Imperium, who mean a lot to the Imperial Guard. If they died, that's crushing morale. If a Custodes dies, it is a severe blow to the Imperium, but it isn't crushing morale, because Custodes die sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
But Custodes are very important. This guy isn't important, but he could be replaced 1,000 times over with 1,000 people, tactically. But figurehead-wise, he can't die. He needs to be alive, and that's why there were Custodes there specifically to protect him. But they also sometimes just capture leadership. They don't consume them. They kidnap the chain of command.
Mm-hmm.
Why are they kidnapping the chain of command? If you are to only consume and eat and everything, why are you kidnapping chain of command? Unless you're interrogating them. And to interrogate someone, you need the intelligence behind it. And one of the Norn emissaries was sent to raid a gene seed vault. And a gene seed vault, or a gene seed rather, is the genetic makeup that makes up a space marine. So either one, they were either trying to get the genetic makeup to make a space marine, which you don't want them to have, because they're going to mix that in with the Tyranids, and then all of a sudden you're going to have space marine Tyranids, and that's not a good experience. Or they understood the importance of gene seeds to the humans, and if they took the gene seed, because gene seed is a very rare occurrence, and they don't want to burn through a lot of the gene seed, because they come from the Primarchs, and most of the Primarchs are dead or missing.
Or both.
Yeah, or both. They're trying to cut off the creation of new Space Marines, which is
smart. It shouldn't be fathomable to them if they really are just mindless creations.
It means they're very smart. Oh, this is a picture of a Norn emissary, by the way. These guys are mentioned that they're very stealthy. This is one of the largest models that GW has.
Fucking hell, yeah, that's
fucking enormous.
Yeah, look at their brain.
Yeah, they also had giant brain, big brain.
Oh, Giga Chub.
So that does it for the important stuff. As with the Neurolictor, as I said, these are just sort of the more memey stuff. That's the Neurolictor. That is the model. That's what it looks like.
Would. Don't go silent on me as if you're surprised.
It's not that you went... It's not that I'm... I was literally about to talk about how people want to fuck the Neurolictor. You don't know this. I sent you a picture of the Neurolictor and then you go, unfuck it. God damn it.
Well, I'm just proving the point.
Then there's this picture, this tweet, or Discord post rather.
Would.
And then the fan art came.
Wouldn't.
But people, this is a new Leviathan model. This model has only existed for a year. Got posted, immediately horny. Immediately people wanted to fuck the Neurolictor.
Well, to be fair, people want to fuck everything.
But there was also a model called the Death Leaper, which a lot of people had mixed opinions of. I think it's so incredibly stupid that I love it, because it's got a cape. It's a Tyranid with a cape. They gave it a cape.
Oh, but honestly, it makes me think of an Illithid.
Yeah, it looks like a Mind Flayer. With its little
And you know what? Good
cape.
for them. Actually, yeah, what if that's what's happening? Because of all the biomass they're consuming, whether they like it or not, they're consuming grey matter. So they are technically slowly evolving. They're slowly becoming smart.
Well,
so it is very possible that in the future...
If they have consumed other galaxies, because as I said, they're not from this galaxy. They're from another galaxy. If they've consumed everything, they've already consumed all the intelligence on that galaxy.
Yeah, but have you forgotten the #1 rule in all of sci-fi? Humanity number one. Humanity number one.
That's not really... I mean, kind of, but that's not really the case in 40k. Humanity is #1 in the sense they're the largest, most powerful faction, but they're falling apart at the seams. They're not the good guys. A lot of people sort of see Warhammer and they don't engage with the lore, so they just assume humanity is the good guys. Sometimes people do engage with the lore and they still think humanity are the good guys, and that's not great for many reasons. But humanity's
never great.
Humanity was never meant to be the good guys. And even the idea behind the Emperor and all of that, he is a guy who specifically, he's Loreddit atheist extreme, right? He believed all religion is bad and we got to wipe out religion. So he wiped out religion. And he went, remember guys, religion is bad. And then he fucking died. And everyone went, what if we worship the Emperor as a god? 10,000 years later, the Emperor is a god. He is the God Emperor. Despite that being explicitly what he said, I don't want to do. Humanity is very much in the decline. They don't invent things. There's no invention. The only people capable of invention specifically forbid invention. You're not allowed to do it. It's heresy. It's illegal. It's punishable by death.
The kid just plays with their Legos, and then all of a sudden the door fucking storms down, and you hear kid gets blown up.
The Empire is very much in decline. So humanity very much isn't number one in 40k. Humanity is number one in the sense that they are the most powerful faction, but they're not number one in the sense that they've got their shit together. The Craftworld Eldar and the Tau are the two that really, and most recently the Votan, but I need to look more into their lore because they're new, so I don't know too much about them. They are the most that kind of just have their shit together. Whereas everyone else, I guess in a sense the Orcs have their shit together, but the Orcs, their shit is a good crump, and there's always a good crump somewhere.
I hear crump. You're saying crump, right?
Yeah,
I'm
crump.
just imagining crump from Captain Underpants.
I never read Captain Underpants.
That was probably for the best.
Orcs are always in it for a good crump.
Me too.
Do you know what a crump is?
Fuck no, but I'm into it.
Alright, I don't think you'd be in for a good crump.
What is it?
It's a fight. A crump is
you
just
know
a
what?
fight.
I could take on an orc.
You did no, you wouldn't.
Yeah, totally would. I'd beat it up.
Okay. Sure.
All I have to do is make them believe that I'm stronger than I really am.
That's not how orcs work. That's a meme of how orcs work. That's not how orcs work.
And yet it technically got canonized.
Not really. There is a loose cannon, in the sense red does go faster and yellow do explode better, but orc belief is not. Orc weapons do actually function, contrary to what people think. People think orc weapons don't actually function. They just believe they function, so they function. Orc spaceships don't actually function, but they just believe they function. No, they do function. They just, when you look at them, you're just like, I don't know how the fuck that functions. But they do actually function. They are designed because mech boys understand how to make things. But mech boys are not as smart as they once were when they were Crocs, so there's a lot of bullshit that they build in. They go, yeah, this will work. And the core design is there, and the core design works, but then they just added a bunch of shiny bits onto it, and the shiny bits serve no purpose. So when you...
Like going from a mechanic to a kid with his first Hot Wheels car.
Yeah, basically. The Crocs had their shit together, and then the Orcs didn't have their shit together. But...
And that's why they died.
No, the Crocs just devolved.
Same thing.
It's like if humans just all of a sudden became apes again. That's the Crocs becoming the Orcs.
Return to monkey.
Yeah, they returned to fungus.
To funky.
But that's it for the episode. The question for the viewers is, last episode we barely had any notes written, and it was mostly just pictures. So for this episode, I asked Corgi to just draw just pictures instead of also include notes. I assume most people don't watch this and just listen to it. That's what I do on almost every podcast I listen to. So if
You're a freak.
prefer just scrapping the notes entirely, and we only have pictures because we'll always have the pictures, it's the thumbnails, it helps. It gives a visual medium, and it's really nice, and it gives Koi something to do during the episode.
ADHD!
We could do that, but there was a couple times in the previous episodes where I would move too fast for Corgi, and we'd have to take like a 10-minute break where she would just write the notes. So it would help with the flow for the episode for us on our end to just just do the pictures and not have the notes. But if you guys prefer the notes, the 10
Yeah, it's really just up to you guys.
yeah, the 10 minutes gets cut out. It's not a big deal. It's not a big problem. So let me know in the comments if you'd rather have notes or rather just the pictures. If you liked this video, like it, share it with your friends, your family, send it to your parents. Don't even explain it. Just send it in a text to your parents and never bring it up to them again. And if they ask you, why did you send that video? Just say, don't worry about it.
And don't forget to press your phone speaker or whatever device speaker you have right against the wall. We need to make sure the armies hear us.
And anyway, that's all for us tonight, or tomorrow, or today. And I don't think I had any Australian cultural references in this episode. I don't think I went on any tangents about specifically Australian culture. So look up TISM. It means This Is Serious Mum. It's not short for autism. It's a Australian band with such great hits as Everyone Else Has Had More Sex Than Me, Are You a Yob or Are You a Wanker, I'm on the Drug That Killed River Phoenix, and my favorite song, I Might Be a Cunt, but I'm Not a Fucking Cunt. Anyway, good night, goodbye, good night, good morning,
Bye.
good afternoon. Bye.